Alright, so today we are finally gonna really get started on Dustin's 6.0 swapped Caddy project. And I am so excited for this thing. He finally got an engine. He's been struggling to find one because people kept selling them out from under him. So we got the engine, he's got the harness, 4L80. The only things really left to do are actually start throwing it together. So as soon as he gets here, we'll get the car pushed in, probably get the hood back off it, and just start throwing things in there. I think the main thing we're going to try and do today is get the engine mounted, which shouldn't be hard. He has adapter mounts and everything. Get started on the harness because he has a PSI conversion harness. And if he brought the transmission, I would like to get that at least a couple bolts in to hold it in place and then get started on making a cross member. And then there's only just a few things after that. This thing he's got enough parts to where we should be able to really start busting it out. So this one here is a 6-liter. You can see the 317 heads here, and then on the back of the block you can see the 6.0 stamping. This came out of a van. You can see the remote mount power steering there, and then the like dummy dipstick tubes and stuff there. And he got this engine with everything you see here, plus the ECU and everything we'll need for that, and the flex plate with the spacer. He got all of this for 750 bucks. He has a conversion harness that we're going to use, so he'll probably end up just selling this to somebody because it is a complete harness. Like you can see the trans plug and the neutral safety switch and everything is there. This dude didn't cut anything except, well, these power steering lines, which isn't a big deal. We've got more of those. So I'm gonna get to work. Hey buddy, ready to do some hot rod stuff? Did you happen to bring the trans with you?
No.
Alright, did you decide to get it rebuilt?
No, I have. Well, I've been 50-50 on it. I need to go. I basically need to do it like right now, or I need to not do it. But what I don't want to do is do it now and then not be able to like get any drive shaft measurements or anything like that, because I need to get a drive shaft made or figured out what I'm going to do for that. So I don't want to.
Well, I guess what we could do for that is I got that empty ADE case at my place. We can just use that to mock shit up.
Okay, cool.
We're pretty much ready to test fit, I think. It's not a bad spot for it to sit.
Yeah.
Where it's at. There's.
Yeah, the truck parent is only like an inch lower than the actual beams. The frame of the car. So.
Do we want to just keep letting weight on the suspension to see where the suspension's gonna sit,
Yeah, we can do that, I guess, yeah.
and then see how much ground clearance there is for the pan. But look, man, you got a 6.0 and a caddy.
It fits, dude.
Yeah, we're gonna play around with where it's sitting a little bit more before we tack the bottom mounts in, but
it's already 2. We're gonna have to turn the fucking right.
yeah, which is okay.
That plastic might have to be not used.
Yeah.
So we'll have to figure out a way to mount the radiator.
Well, there was still just that metal piece that went here, and that we still got that somewhere. So I mean, that'll mount the radiator. We can just cut the bottom one.
I mean, yes and no, because like that metal piece works in coincidence of this plastic piece.
Well, I thought that plastic piece just went on top of it.
No, this plastic piece goes under the metal piece, I'm pretty sure. Because these foam things ride right on the radiator. That's like...
Well, where are the bolt holes for this then? I'm not so sure anymore either.
I don't know. It don't matter. We're just wasting...
We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Wasting thinking power. Alright.
Yeah, I say we just get it in a position that,
We want it.
yeah, get everything exactly where we want it.
It's...
Double check that it is where we want it, and then lay a couple tacks down and lift the engine out, and then...
Yeah, I need to check the pan and the steering. Make sure...
Well, the steering's all in the front.
Oh, I know, but the pan right here, the shaft, I want to make sure when it's fully extended one way.
Right.
Shaft on the bottom, because I don't, it's a little angled. Actually, no, we're fine. We're fine.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it doesn't go up a bunch.
It's so close.
How close is that pan to the frame under here?
What?
How close is the bottom of the pan to the crossover frame? That's fine. That's fine. So we're just gonna get the engine situated where we want it, and then, like I said, tack the lower mounts in place, and then pull the engine out and just finish weld all those.
Want some gloves, bro?
All right, they in, all glued up, not going anywhere. Yeah, I think that's it.
Sick, buddy, yeah. Call her a day.
Let's officially mount the engine, and
Well, not unofficial, official.
I mean, it'll be mounted,
I mean, yeah.
just not permanently. Come on.
I just want to hear this one.
Wap, bop, bop, bop.
That's so sick. What do you think you can run with a caddy?
He wants to race.
He wants to race.
All right, well, that's where we're calling it for the night. Got the motor mounts mostly done. Just have to run and get some some of the same matching bolts, and then we can start working on the rest of the shit.
Alright, dude, I'm gonna go get the tranny to our homeboy.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll have it ready for us.
Yep. Alright.
Cool, man.
6-liter caddy.
6-liter caddy, buddy. I'm doing it. Thanks a lot.
Making some pretty good progress on the caddy. Got some of the major stuff done, although it doesn't really seem like it, I guess, but that's definitely where we're calling it for today's video. Man, this place is a mess, but we got a ton of progress done yesterday, even though like from up here it may not actually look like it. Let me go over what we've done. So yesterday we didn't film anything, we just hustled on the car. We got the engine like mounted exactly where it needs to be. Everything's good there. It will clear the hood. The only thing that touches is this little end piece right there, just barely pokes into the insulation up there. We got my empty transmission case mounted up to use that as like a mock-up transmission to figure out the cross member for it, and that's all going to be fine. That's no issue. Let's see, Dustin went and got a transmission mount. I don't know where that is. I think that might be down there. We pulled the heads off the engine and completely cleaned them because we pulled the valve covers off the passenger side, and it was nasty. We ended up pulling this head off because I had to weld a nut to a broken stud and get the stud out. That's all fine, but we ended up, because it was so gross inside this valve cover, we were like, let's just pull them both off, make sure everything's healthy inside the engine. And it does look like the engine's been sitting for a little while with some water in it. There's a little bit of rust on the cylinders, but I just wiped everything off, sprayed a bunch of PB Blaster in there, and then put like a huge corded drill on it and spun the engine over, and that thing got it to like 400 RPM, and that cleaned it up a ton, so I'm not worried about that at all. And then with the heads, we just used a couple cans of Easy Off and just power washed them, and they cleaned up perfectly. Like, I wish you could have seen them before. I wish I had taken pictures, but man, they were nasty. Like the nastiest I've ever seen. Let's see, what else have we done? We measured for a drive shaft. We stole the Turbo 400 yoke out of Chris's Turbo 400 transmission he got for his truck, and that slides right into the back of two-wheel drive 4L80Es, if you guys didn't know that. So we stole that to set in there to get a measurement for a drive shaft. So hopefully tomorrow the drive shaft shop should be open, and Dustin can head up there and get a drive shaft made, or at least like maybe call them and just let him know what he needs. Oh, right, we got a radiator in. I ended up, this is out of the white parts truck, so out of like a 2000 Silverado. And these ones are neat because on the bottom, they have like a little rubber pedestal pad. So on the core support down there, I just drilled a couple holes and it sunk down dang near perfectly. And then this is just the stock like radiator mount, but it was like 4 inches too long, so I just hacked the center out of it. And I mean, that thing, it's solid. And then especially once all the hoses and everything are clamped in, that thing's not moving at all. And then this is a fan that Dustin had laying around. It's a 2-speed fan, should flow pretty decently. Just have it zip tied to the radiator. It's not going to move at all. There's, I think, 6 zip ties on there, so that's all held up. So that's all good. We opened up the PCI conversions wiring harness yesterday, and I was looking over that, and it looks like that should be really simple, really straightforward. 99% of it is all plug and play. The other 1% is we have to wire up one wire to a switched constant 12 volt, a switched 12 volt that doesn't like lose power when you start cranking the key. So we'll find a spot on the factory car fuse box that says ignition, because usually that stays powered when you crank the key. And then we have to do a couple grounds to like the head, and then there's 2 power wires that'll go to the starter that will be where it connects to the battery for the power source to the harness. And then we'll just use the factory car key switch wiring to the starter, and then that way it'll start off the key. So that really shouldn't be an issue at all. The only thing that would really prevent it from starting at this point is just VATs. And I've had a few people message me on Instagram. They're like, hey man, I just finished my swap and it's not starting. And the first thing I always tell them is, did you delete VATs, Vehicle Anti-Theft System? Because the stock ECU, if you haven't touched it, it still thinks like there's a body control module and all that shit connected. So when it's not actually connected, it starts freaking out like, I'm being stolen. So you gotta delete that or it will not start. I mean, it'll usually like crank and start for like a second and then immediately shut off. So if that's the thing that you're encountering, check your VATs. And the thing that sucks about that is you have to have that deleted in the tune. So it's not something you can usually do yourself, which is why a lot of people overlook it. Yeah, I think that is just about everything that we did yesterday. This is one of the easiest LS swaps I think you could really do. I mean, especially since the other one that I'm doing is the RX-7 out there. Right there. I miss you. Compared to that, this thing is butter. It's the stock truck pan. Everything went right where it wanted to be, aside from having to unbolt the motor mounts on the frame and just bolt those to the engine, set everything where it wanted to, and kind of like make sure it looked good, and then I just welded them to the frame. Aside from that, everything's been perfect. The stock cross member looks like it'll work. We might not have to make one at all. Like the most we're gonna have to do for that is maybe section a small piece for a little extra clearance for the U-joint, and then slot the like bolt hole a little bit further back, like a ½ an inch. Aside from that, it looks like it'll work. So the only things that are like really significant on the to-do list is get the drive shaft made, make an exhaust. We got to see if this throttle cable will work, because we know the one on the car won't work, because that is, I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but the stock one on the car stops like right in here, so obviously that's not going to work. This is the one, this is the stock one from Chris's truck, because he switched to carbureted, so he only needed like a, I don't know, 18-inch throttle cable. So this one being like 3 or 4, about 3 feet long, he didn't need it. So if this will connect to the throttle pedal, that'll be sweet. If not, we'll rig something up with this end and the stock. We'll figure something out. That won't be a huge deal. And then probably the most significant thing we did of all yesterday is get organized and actually make a to-do list. And we knocked out a ton of it yesterday. Well, ton is kind of relative. We knocked out a pretty significant amount of it. We got the radiator, the fan, the training mount, the manifold stud out, cold air intake, clean the heads. The rest of it is all just kind of stuff that we have to do along the way anyway. Like wire ignition, that'll be part of the harness. So it's just nicer when you can cross more things out than you actually need to. Fuel lines, we're going to use mostly the stock fuel lines, and then where it would like screw into the throttle body, we'll probably cut those off and then just do like a high pressure hose just to like adapt them to the stock truck fuel rails. It's the same way the Suburban's done, so I know it'll work. So yeah, Chris and Dustin are both on their way up, because this car needs to be ready to go to Colorado, and we're in Michigan, so that's what, 12-hour drive roughly. It needs to go to Colorado in 14 days, not 40 days, 4 days. So that's kind of why I didn't film anything yesterday. We're just trying to hustle on this bad girl here. I think we can do it though. I'm really sure of us on this one. Oh, what do you think? Yeah, we gotta mount that still.
Well, you're right. You said it'd take us about a week.
It'll be close.
I'm stoked. I can't wait to message my dad and be like, yo, we're waiting on Ray. 'Cause that don't ever happen.
Nah.
Usually Ray hits me up before I even started working on my vehicle, getting ready to.
Yeah. There's not a ton left to do. And this has basically been like 3 days of just hustling. Yeah, I mean, if you count when we pulled the engine and everything out, it's like, what the fuck am I hearing? I mean, if you count like when we pulled the engine and everything out, that was 1 day, putting the motor in, and then, alright, 4 days. 4 days of work, and we're this far. Can you believe that?
What?
This is really only like 4 days of actual work.
Dude, we're pretty good, man.
Fuck yeah, man.
Dude, I'm stoked, man.
Bet you guys have it fired up for the end of the week.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully.
I mean, we got
Now,
Wednesday is our next day of working.
Yeah.
I have a full day on Wednesday.
I don't
even
have.
to work. Well, I'm not. I don't. That's all right.
there's not enough here for me to be here anyway, so.
No, we kind of got.
Unless you want to hoof the transmission in. We can wait for you for that.
Alright, I'll be here Saturday.
Ugh.
That was terrible.
Oh. Oh, God. Yeah.
Jesus, squealer.
There you go. You got it. Yeah, dude. It's gonna rip!
I'm pretty
You
stoked.
gotta take us all for a ride.
Oh, dude, we'll
Colorado.
fucking do down at the burnouts in the full.
I'm gonna wait to fire it up until he has to work, and then I'm gonna be the first one to drive it. Just to piss you off.
It's like I just see a video uploaded by Josh Snyder, caddies riding down the road.
Just
I'm like,
tire smoke for days.
burning.
Hey, Dustin, you gotta get new tires pretty quick.
Bro, these tires are trash. What
Like, dude,
happened?
the ring and pinion in the rear didn't hold up to the 6-liter. We're gonna have to.
Got the wiring cleaned up a little bit too.
Okay, so I need
Looking
to get
snazzy.
a gasket, or are you gonna grab the other one from your house?
I can grab the other one.
Okay.
That's not a biggie.
I need those step bits are sweet. I love those things.
Yeah.
They help me out.
The best.
I don't know. I don't think there's bell housing bolts in this. Oh, I might have bell housing bolts just sitting at my pop's place. Dustin's all excited.
So excited.
Dude.
I think once we get this thing running, I'm gonna take like a full day, just chill, and then pull the tranny out of my truck and get that thing up and running again. And then once that's good, we'll get back to your truck.
Hell yeah.
Man, it's gonna be sick.
I'm stoked, man.
All right, so tons of progress on the car today. That's definitely gonna do it for today's video. We are all exhausted, so hope you guys enjoyed it. Can't wait to see this thing destroying tires soon. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. We'll see you next time.